You see, when people talk about be patient and wait, you have to look at the time frame within which the public officer himself is expected to execute his work. The president has just been voted into a term of 4 years. He's 8 months into the term, which constitutes 31.8% of the total time that he has. He has less than 70% of the time in government. When is that going to happen? 2, when President Buhari took over in 2015, it was the same language. Nigerians patiently followed. Today, tomorrow, they finish the first term, they enter the second term. When there is a fundamental problem with policy, time is irrelevant. 30 years, it cannot work.
One of the common excuses that the APC ruling party are giving Nigerians is that Tinubu just enters it. He assumed office not quite long. He's just months into his administration. Let us give him time. Bwala, the former spokesperson to Atiku presidential campaign team, has come out to say that even though you give Tinubu 30 years to rule Nigeria, that he cannot work. He cannot do anything. He can't change Nigeria. Now, before I read out this article and analyze what he means, I just want to put this as action. You know, Tinubu, from May 2019 today, people are failing to realize that almost 1 year is gone. People are failing to realize that we are entering 2024, which means that once we enter 2024, Tinubu only has 2025 and 2026, just 2 years left to finish his office. People are not realizing that things will not work. People are not realizing that when Buhari assumed office, it was even better like this, but at the end of his tenure, everything got worsened. People did not realize that Tinubu is still using Buhari's propaganda, I want to tackle corruption, and using it to do a political war. People don't realize that any president, any administration that want to care for her citizen will make sure that they reduce the cost of governance. We are borrowing money. We are owing a lot of debt. Our budget, almost 80% will go to the servicing of debt and so on and so forth. And people are not still thinking that this administration is not caring for them, has nothing good to do with them. People still believe that things will get better. When and how? Show me the empirical data, your proof that shows that this country is going to get better. Now, Bwala said that even if you give Tinubu 30 years, nothing is going to work. He says that a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Bwala, has suggested that the current administration of President Bola Tinubu may end up like his predecessor, that is Buhari. And that is what I knew, that this administration, I'm not wishing them bad, I'm not wishing Tinubu bad, but there is all tendencies that he is going to fail because of the system and because of what he believes. Now, let me continue to read. So he noted that this was exactly how Nigerians were told to be patient for 8 years while the Buhari administration was busy doing every little or nothing at all. Absolutely correct. This was how we were told, have patience with this administration, have patience with this administration. Now, so many people have continued to tell us to have patience, have patience, have patience. Why is it that we don't tell ourselves the truth? The other day, Alex Oti and Wanda Soyinka visited Tinubu. And when they were granting the press interview, they were telling us to have patience with the government. Have patience with the government. This was the same thing they told us during Buhari administration. And here we are. No, just look at where we are today. He continued to say, he says, Bwala said that Tinubu has already spent 31.8% of his first term in office and has only succeeded in raising the suffering of Nigerians during this period. When people talk about being patient, waiting, you have to look at the time frame the public officer is expected to execute the work. Exactly. Bwala, who was the spokesperson of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council for 2023 election, said on Channels Television on Monday, the president has just been voted into a term of 4 years. He is 8 months into the term, which constitutes 31.8% of the total time that he has. He has less than 70% time in governance. When is that going to happen? When the President Buhari took over in 2015, it was the same language, and we patiently followed, and he finished the first term and finished the second term. When there is a fundamental problem with policy, time is irrelevant. 30 years, it will not work. Most of the economists I have listened to have faulted the president's budget with which he was supposed to deliver the agenda fit out. We want to see deliverables. Nigerians are tired of English, mathematics, economy, science, and technology. We want to see practical things, he said.
Most economics in Nigeria, and I'm glad Mr. Onje is an economist, let him challenge it. You look at budget, Price Water Cuba, you look at Riwani, most economics that I have listened to, their analysis on the budget of the president, with which he's expected to execute the agenda, they have faltered it flat out. Now, let me tell you this. The policy that you said you want to change. Now, for the economics, talk about long-term and short-term. Every planning has 3 stages: immediate, mid-term, and long-term. What Nigerian people are crying because of this policy direction are matters that fall within the immediate, which is called intervention. For example, when you took out fuel subsidy, Nigerian people knew that you are going to be making about 9 trillion every month just by not giving the subsidy. And the president said the reason why he was taking out the subsidy is because the subsidy had always ended in the pockets of few people. He wanted Nigerian people to feel the impact. So what happens to the 9 trillion naira? For the past 8 months that they took out the subsidy, have you seen them providing cushioning effect that impact on those consequences of those policies? Because the consequences affect transportation, it affected feeding, healthcare, it affected every facet of life. Now, apart from the 2 billion given to the governors, for which most of them gave to their cronies and people, some even brought religious inclination into it, what more has the government done that generated the impact? There are some places who apply this kind of economic model. They will tell you when you do that, because you already saved money, not you are looking for money coming, you ought to have increased the salaries of workers by, say, if for transportation, by removing subsidy, an average worker is going to spend extra 15,000 in a month. Then maybe in feeding, because of rises of items, is going to spend extra 5,000, meaning 20. You look at other areas, you put them together, impact it into a salary. Do you need a long term to be able to do that? Secondly, they said the reason they are saving the money is so they can invest in infrastructure. In the past 8 months, tell me one infrastructure project that was laid on ground. Meanwhile, every month we're saving 9 trillion. This is in addition to the multiples of millions in naira, in pound, in dollars that have been recovered from looters and people who looted the treasury in the last administration. Tell me one program on ground that has impacted on the lives of the common people. There is no healthcare improvement in any capacity. So when you talk about long-term plan, you are talking, let's say, for example, if you are constructing a road from Lagos to Ibadan, you will say it is going to take 2 years before it will construct. I think people should see construction people on the side. Now, what about those areas for which the money has already been saved and you need to then release it to impact? In fact, even the planning and the implementation of these policies have been faulted. Let me take you to just the one of 4 days ago. They gave out subsidy to people traveling for Christmas, Lagos, blah, 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 blah. Have you seen the implementation? Less than 7% got impacted by that. A lot of people didn't get the money. Didn't get to access it. Up till the day that the implementation was to start, these same bosses and companies that are saying, we're still giving it at the already. So then will come a time where we'll interrogate implementation. But I am talking about intervention. Intervention is not a mid-term. Intervention is not a long-term. Intervention is immediate. What is the plan and the policy of the government? Meanwhile, why I say that Nigerian people are more patient than the politicians is that, meanwhile, on the part of government, look at the trip to Dubai and look at how much waste that was made. The average SUV for the lawmaker that costs about 150 or 60 million. You have 3 senators, for example, in a state. If you multiply 160 by 3 and devote this money to the 3 constituency in that state, you can imagine how much it will go. Nobody's looking at that. The cost of government has been enlarged and increased. So we see Nigerians saying we have seen the movie before. We know where we're coming from. We want to see deliverables. We are tired of English, mathematics, economics, science, and technology. We want to see practical, doable. And the government needs to start by conducting itself. Most of the people appointed by President Bwala Tinubu have no competence, have no capacity, have no foresight.